All right, we're going to be checking out this 2021 Coachmen Beyond. It's a 22C model. This is on the Ford Transit chassis. You have the Ford key. You have Ford Auto Start on this feature, but you also can hit the lock, unlock, lock, and then that will auto start. So you don't have to necessarily have this for the auto start. And if you want to stop it for some reason, same procedure. Lock, unlock, lock. We'll turn it off. Also, the depression of the brake pedal will turn it off. Or opening the hood as well will disable that as well. Now, if you come back on this side here, you'll notice that this does have the keyless entry. Now, I'm not sure what the code is on this one, but the manual will keep you up to date on that. So all you have to do is read your manual for that one. And that's going to be in the Ford chassis book. Gonna unlock it first. Underneath the little cup holder thing here, this is going to be your hood latch. So I'll show you under the hood now. Now keep in mind that things are a little bit dirty at the moment as they have not been detailed quite yet. So over on this side we have our window washer fluid, our air filters on this side. Our cabin air filter is through here underneath there. You have your motor, your engine oil add, your engine oil dipstick. You have your positive link here, which is underneath this. And then you have your brake fluid and your antifreeze reservoir. Don't open this when it is hot. Pretty much the basics underneath here. Now this model up front does have the front fog lights, headlights, a nice large grill for cooling, and this is regular, I believe. I think this must be turbocharged. I'm not 100% on the Ford chassis itself, but this is the 2021 model, 2020 model. This is Beyond Lithium Ion 3, which means that it has lithium batteries inside this coach for the house side. This does have the dual rear wheels on this with the aluminum wheels from Ford. You have your entry door here, which is just your standard sliding door. It's known in that fancy Mercedes ones that have problems, so everything's nice and manual, so you'll never have that problem down the road. At the entry door here, you do have your screen door, like so. So that's nice and easy, just like a house. And then it's just simple to pull back slightly as a magnet holds that closed. So keep an eye out on your children and pets so that doesn't swing back and close rapidly. A nice feature of this model is you do have the dual grab handles on either side of the entry. This is a motion light for your entry light as well. And you do have the large steps to get into the unit. Now we're going to just check out behind this unit. So right behind the rear axle here, we have our exhaust for our coach. We have our GFI protected 120 outlets. Now that's only going to be operational when you're plugged in or running your inverter. Now there's some that may be running and some that may not. That's something you're going to have to test. We have our Truma hot water heater and furnace controls here. So you have hot air coming out and cold air going around into there. We have our rear doors. Now I already have this open and the cover for the rear seat already pulled away so I can show you where the lithium batteries are stored and your inverter. So we'll just start with the doors to begin with. You have your large rear speakers on both sides and your windows with window covers. Now I recommend removing these when you're going for transit. You do have these green and red indicated locks and unlocks. Now what that does is it pushes the unlock. You can take this and swing this all the way around. Like such on both sides. If you're trying to keep some space or not trying to have these all the way open. And then all you have to do is just push it until it locks back in place. And it will lock it. Now That's when you push it to unlock. So now if you want to lock it, you just push it back to the red, which is going to lock this door in place. So if you have some heavy winds, that'll stop the door from hitting you while you're trying to put things into your unit. Now in the back here, this is the front window blinds. I'm pretty sure you guys can figure out how to put window blinds on your front windows there. So this is going to be your front windows and the front sides. That's going to be in this black bag here. They are silver in color, like such. And you do have a black side. Black side goes to the interior, silver to outside, so it reflects the sunlight. Also stored back here is your outside shower connection, which is more so of a hose and a sprayer. Great for going down to the beach and spraying off your shoes and sandals when you have nice sand in there. You do get an elbow with this unit. This is going to be for your dump station, so I'll show you where that goes in a moment. Now, all the way underneath the seat here, you'll have this cover. This cover just goes over top. It just velcros onto the black backer that is on this unit. Now, that's to hide all these things, to keep it all nice and uniform. But right now, I'm just going to put this up here. Now, if you pull this panel back here, you'll notice that you have these two big, large white boxes. Now, this white box with this blue trim, this is going to be your lithium battery bank. So this is going to have multiple cells going into this unit. So this here suffices and places your generator. Now, let me check real quick to see if this unit is equipped with the generator, and I'll be right back. Now, I just rechecked, so I made sure that I'm giving you the proper information here. Now, this Transit is the turbocharged edition, so I would recommend running premium in this so that the air-fuel ratio of your unit will run properly. Yes, you can run on basic standard stuff, but to help the longevity and health of the motor, I suggest using premium gas. Now that helps you down the road, reduces maintenance on the motor, and keeps your spark plugs cleaner so you don't replace them as often. Now, also underneath your unit, inside the engine bay, there is a second alternator. Now that second alternator charges this battery bank system passively. So now that means that that alternator will only charge the battery when it needs to be charged, and it will keep it at its float level once it's reached that level. Now, that's all going to be controlled by the Freedom SW3012. That's going to be your power inverter and charger section. So that's going to take 120 and make it into 12 volts to charge this battery. And it will also take the 12 volts from this lithium battery pack and convert it into 120 volts when needed. Now that will help power the air conditioner. Now this air conditioner on this top of this unit is 12 volts, but you can also use 120 for it. So it gets fairly loud when you're running your AC, which is kind of common for 12 volt units as they run a little bit hotter than 120 units. Now, also in this compartment here, you'll notice a few things. You'll notice some valves back here. These are going to be your valves for your low point drains. You're going to have your fresh tank bypass, which is this guy right here. And then the line going to the fresh tank, which is going to take water from your pump and pump it into your system. Right now it's winterized, so if you're planning on taking this down south and using it, you may have to change the position of that white valve there to allow flow into your water pump. Also down there by the water pump, it's kind of hard to see because it's a little dark there, is that there is a clear bowl / glass valve, well, plastic valve with a strainer. Now occasionally, I'd say every 6 months if you're constantly using it, to make sure you clean out that filter. All you have to do is put a little rag under there, turn off your water pump, open it up, and then you'll be able to pull out that little strainer, and then you'll be able to clean that, just put it back together and put it back on. Now that's going to be a normal maintenance thing that you will be required to do yourself as the consumer of the vehicle. And then it's just simple as pushing this back up. Just get this out here, and then I'll take this and put this over top to make it nice and clean. One side has Velcro. It just sticks on just like that. Now that hides everything that's all behind there. Now also one thing I failed to mention is you have this bar back here. If you notice or move these little tabs for your seat belts and you pull the seat belts back, do not put them over top of the bar. Make sure they go underneath the bar so that that bar doesn't bend and potentially damage the seating in a crash in bed. Now all you have to do is close these doors then, give them a pull, make sure you don't have things in the way like I do. And I'm going a little ahead of myself here. I'm trying to keep it nice and short for you guys. You do have a rear spring as well, so you can lock these doors open. Pull down on the spring here. We're going to push this all the way down. Make sure these little feet here lock on the edge. And that hold the screen down. And then all you have to do to retract it is keep a hold of this line here. Push this back slightly. And it'll go all the way up. Now these things can be a little bit of a bear when you're first getting used to it. But if you look at these little ends here when you get to this unit, you'll notice that these have a little bit of a cup. Now the cup needs to be sideways, and the little tooth, I'll say, has to be to the front and rear. And that grabs onto the very edge, right here, holding it down. Now also on the rear of this coach, you do have a hitch, 7 legs on this side, and a flat 4 on this side. So you're already prepped for towing. Now this does not have a brake controller, so if you do want to tow something else behind it, you have to check with the class rating on that to see how large of a unit you can tow, and get a brake controller installed so you can have brakes on the trailer if it's large enough. Also on the top there, we do have our rear backup camera. And the other thing I kind of failed to notice and talk about a little bit is it just also has the full side carefree awning. Now this carefree awning does have a wind sensor and an awning light on top of that as well, which we go over when we get inside. Now onto the driver's side rear, we have our city connection. So this is where you're going to put your hose for your water into the coach when you're at the campsite. You're going to have your fresh water connection. So this means that you're going to be hooking to this to fill your fresh water tank. Now this one here is a black flush tank. What we're going to hook up this, when we're going to hook up to this is we're going to pull our black valve, dump our black tank, hook our hose to here, allow water to flow through a faucet, meaning through an external source, into the black tank flush. Flush out any excess that is left over in the black tank. You're going to want to make sure that you're only using number 2 going into there, and RV certified toilet paper, as that decomposes and doesn't clog up the valves. Since you have to have everything come through this size here, there's going to be a little valve, and if the little piece of paper gets in between the valve and the hose itself, it's going to stop and create a leak, and then you're not going to have fun opening up the cap to put on your accessories. So make sure you use this black tank flush to prevent that from happening. Also back in this quadrant here, we have our cable connection, which gives us cable from the campground into our unit. So that's going to be where all that comes from. Now bunny ears, that's all going to be from the antenna, which is located on the roof. We also have our 115, 120 volt supply here. On here, you'll notice that this has a collar. You want to just match up the L to the L on the unit here. Push it on, turn it to the right slightly, and then lock on the locking ring. Now below the 120 valve, we have the storage for our sewer pipe. So this has a little spot for it, which will go right here, which is a simple latch and lock. Next to that, we have our LP fitted connections. So we have the red switch here. It's going to be the off and on for the tank itself. So if you're going to go get it filled, or you're going to go to, let's say, a gas station, go fill up, make sure before you fill up, turn that switch off, turn off the 12 volt inside your unit, then you can fill up your gas. Once you're done filling gas for propane or fueling, then you can come back outside after that's complete and you're away from the gas station. Turn that on. Next to that, we have our LP quick connect. So this is going to be a low pressure quick connect here. So you can put in the LP fitting so you can have a little camp stove. Once you put in the quick connect, you push down, allowing flow into this valve to the system, and then turn it off when you're not using it. Next to that, we have our fill. So this is going to be the valve to fill our LP tank. And then to the left of that, we have our bleeder valve. Now, this bleeder valve, when it's full, you're going to have gas come out like such. So you want to make sure it's turned to the right and securely closed. And then when you're not using it, you're going to go ahead, pull this up. You have a bolt here on a little piece of wire. And you got to really line up the hole and the bolt to get it properly together. Now, it's going to take a little bit of finesse to get that in there properly. I'd even suggest getting a little knee pad so you can knee when using those connections. Now we have our rear tire here again with their nice aluminum wheels. We have our spray hose here. So this is going to be all fresh water. So this is going to be cold side only. So all you have to do is take this end here, push it in, that locks it on. You'll either have your city connection on or your water pump, which takes water from your fresh tank to your city connections, and pull or push, and then you'll have flow come out. Right now it's currently winterized, so we have no water in the system. And to remove, you push back this collar and pull this back slightly until it is removed. Then you can go ahead and close your cap. Next to that, we have our solar. This is a Go Power solar panel prepped. So this is going to be rated for a 20 amp solar panel. So when you're looking at extra solar for this unit, you'll go ahead and get a 20 amp panel for that. All you got to do is just plug it in and it's ready to go. Now what that does is helps keep your lithium topped off and fully charged. Now keep in mind that the whole roof is going to be covered if you're in a snowy climate or in a carport or underneath a bunch of leaves. It's not going to do much. Even if you have this all the way out in full sunlight, the lithium battery, just by leaving everything on idle and your fridge running, because you're going to want to keep all your frozen fruits frozen and all your cold fruits cold, that's going to take a minimum of 7 amps. Now this has lithium batteries, and I would say about 3 days on idle with your fridge running is the maximum time you'll have without turning the coach on at all. Now, we have this little cutout here. This is for our sewer connection. Our sewer connection is going to have these little valves like such. That's right here. You can see the little pink came out. Then on the left side, we have our gray valve. On the right side, we have a black valve. So what you do in the instance of dumping is you pull your black valve. That's going to be all your toilet water coming out. Once that's all done, you're going to hook to that black flush tank valve at the end of those where it's labeled. Sorry, I'm stuttering over myself. Long day today. Let it flow out. Once it's done flowing out and it's clear, close that. Then you come over to the gray. Open up the gray, allow all the sink water and shower water to come out. Once that's completed, you go ahead and close that. Now you can use this accessory here to help direct it better, like so. And you can put a little slip tube on. I'd suggest getting a tube that you can put into that container. I think there might be one inside. I'm not 100% sure yet, as I'm kind of just going over this unit from memory of how everything works. Once spray's done dumping, go ahead and close that. And then you can put your transit cap back on. Now, at the coach part here, you do have to open up your door to get to the tank. Now this is, I believe this one is flex fuel ready. It is E85 gasoline ready, so you can run E85 in this. So I'll give you better horsepower and temps in this. And then I'll meet you right inside to go over all the interior accessories and components. All right, so with this unit, you do have a mobile app that you can use. It is the Mirror by Vega Touch. This uses all of Firefly integrations. Now, if I have already downloaded it on my phone, I'm going to press scan. You're going to see the Mirror ID, which is going to be the same as the unit. I'm going to click that one. Well, that one's unpaired. So let's unpair that. Sorry. So now I have the unit. Now it's connecting. Now it says authenticate. So I have to put in the PIN from the unit. Now, to get to that, we're going to push the little settings, go to mobile app. That will give us our PIN. I'm going to install that onto my phone with the same PIN. Press authenticate. I'm going to set my PIN. Set it to 1,000. Now that I have done that, now I have the access to check out everything on the app itself. So I have my master lights, my temperature control, my tanks, my water pump, my house voltage, and my chassis voltage on here. Now that kind of clones the same thing as what's on the main touch that's over here. We have our master lights, our awning extend and retract. So to extend that, I push extend. Right now the awning's going out. Now to do the awning lights, we also have the porch and awning here. Now the porch light's the one that's right here. Awning's on the end of the awning itself. I'm just making sure it didn't hit nothing. Now that's all the way out. As you can see, the lights are on, and it has the wind sense. So if it got a little windy, it will retract itself on its own. Now I don't suggest having this on the whole time. Now there is another thing, is that this does have a blue light for the porch light as well underneath the step. So you're going to want to make sure that you turn off the porch light when going down the road if you're leaving your chassis on. Now you can leave this on just to keep things charging, like your cell phones and whatnot, and keep your fridge cool while going down the road. You also have all your ceiling lights and everything on the light page here. Right here is our page. So to get to that, all I did was hit the little light bulb here. That's going to bring this page up, so you want to make sure that that porch light's off, so you can see that that one's off. You know the one outside is going to be off. We're going to turn off that awning light as well, so when you're going down the road, you don't get a ticket for having your lights on. Now, all these switches that have the up and down arrows, you can actually dim to dim them. Oh, yeah, there we go, the galley. So you just long hold it, and it will actively start dimming the light. And if you turn off your master lights off and on, it's going to save the same amount of dimness. So just so you don't freak yourself out, I always tend to bring it back up after I am done. So when I push it on at night, I know that I'm going to be able to see nice and bright. The next thing we have underneath that is our temperature climate control. So if I just want to have the fan on, all I got to do is run this bar up. That will engage the fan in just a moment. And that's going to be over top of the bed and chair area. Now the fan's running, so we're just going to get fan coming out of it. Now if I wanted it to cool, I got to make sure I hit cool. I really suggest hitting auto and setting the temperature. So right now it's set to 86. You can hold that. Now if I wanted it to start cooling, I have to bring it down. I would say bring it down about 4 to 8 degrees cooler than what the interior is reading. Now that's going to read This one here has the Truma one here. There you go. You can kind of hear how noisy that fan is when it's running. So it's going to be decently noisy in a campground that's super quiet. They'll be able to hear you. But to be able to use the air conditioner while you're not plugged in is an awesome benefit for a little bit of noise. So that tent goer can go put some earplugs in or something if it's really bothering them. Also, there's not going to be any heat on this one, as this is cool only from this climate control here. So turn it off, you just click climate control when that's gray, and to turn off the fan, make sure it's on auto. So if you have it on like such, it's going to turn on the fan. And if you hit auto, it's just going to leave it on its control per temperature when you have the climate control on. There we go. And then you have your settings to get to your mobile app. You can check your network diagnostics through the whole setting here to see what's on and what's off. So right here we can see the ignition's off on the coach, but if I put the ignition on in the coach, you'll see that illuminated green. Sorry. Also, you have your G12 outputs, which is all the 12-volt system in the whole unit. So instead of having your fuse panel with 100 fuses in it, now you have a individual fuse location in the Firefly controls panel. Then we can change your temperature here to Fahrenheit Celsius. We have our floor plan, and we have our time, which I believe is correct. 5:28. It's off by a minute. You can see your version here and your logic controller version as well. Now, that covers this whole port here. Back at home, you have your temperature control, so it's a quick fix it. You can check it here. If you already have the system running, you can see our levels right here, our water pump operation on and off here, our house voltage, and our chassis voltage. Next to that, we have our battery disconnect. Now, this turns off all 12-volt to the house, so that will pretty much turn off everything in the house just by hitting store, like so. That kills all your lights and everything. So when you turn back on, all the lights aren't going to automatically turn on, so you have to go to your master lights, so you can turn them all on again. Next to the battery disconnect, you have your solar charge controller. So this is going to be a 30 amp unit. So you have 20 amps you can use out on that extra, and you have 30 up top. So you're going to have your battery state to the left hand side, which is 14.5, which is good. You can see that it's fully charged. It's using 0 amps because we're plugged in. We can see that we have 0 amp hours being used, and we're still at 14.5 volts. We have our solar off and on. So if you are unplugged, this would normally be on with the battery disconnect off and stored. So you'd have to make sure you have this off to turn this off if you're inside of like a garage, inside a storage unit, in a very, very shady area where you're not going to be getting any sunlight, or there's snow on top of your unit. That will stop all charging, and this will actually be a draw on your lithium batteries. Now to compensate that, you just go ahead and turn this off. That will stop this from being a draw and stop this from being powered. Right now with this off, this is on only because we're plugged in, getting 12 volts kind of backfed into it. Next to that, we have our Truma Control. This is going to be for our water heater and our furnace. So to operate this unit, all we're going to do is push this. This is going to give us this display here. So right now, the little camper is flashing. You have the little thermostat. This here says off after I push this button in. Now to turn on your heat in the coach, you got to have your propane on, your disconnect on. Turn this up to a temperature you wish to have, and push it in again to select that temperature. Now you have this little flame going. That's indicating that it is starting to operate. You're not going to hear it come on right away, as Truma's furnace controls are very passive and they're not super loud and loud like a Suburban or Atwood furnace. Now next to that, we have the thermostat with the squiggly lines. This is going to be a water heater. To use that, we're going to turn that on. Now you have Eco, Hot, and Boost. Now these are going to be all different temperatures that you want to use. So Eco is only going to turn on the hot water maker when you are using it. Hot is going to let that be hot mainly the whole time. And Boost is going to allow you to have a better refresh rate. So that's going to use electric and keep it hotter longer inside that holding tank that's on it. And then to turn it off, turn it all the way left and pushing the button to select it. Now it's already pretty warm in here, so I'm going to go ahead and turn off the furnace. Next to that, we have our water heater controls. So this is going to give you the option to use primarily gas or electric or both at the same time. So, you know, with both, you're going to have the best refresh rate with Mix 2. Now, if you're not trying to use any propane, you can turn it to a heating element of 1200 watts or heating element 2, which is 2 heating elements, which is going to give you 2400 watts. Or your gas, which is just going to be propane gas only. I recommend having it on mixed both, as that's going to give you your highest refresh rate of hot water. Next to that, that's going to be your fan control, so you can have it on to vent, or if you have your furnace on, you can turn your fan speed to Eco or high, which is going to take a little bit more power consumption. I recommend Eco, as that's going to give you kind of more of a passive heat, not dry you out too much when it is cold out, and keep it nice instead of kind of super hot in here. Next, you have a timer, so you can actually set this timer to turn on at a certain time and turn off at a certain time. So we'll turn on the furnace when you're starting to wake up, or turn on the water heater when you're starting to wake up. Let's just say 5 a.m. that turns on, and then you can set an end time. Let's just say 9 a.m. So I'll turn off the heat, so you can actually do heat for that one. And then when you have this one show up, this is going to be your water heater, so you can turn it on boost, set your mixes to gas or electric or mix 2, and then your fan control, which I'll put high. And then you can turn it off or on after you set what you want per type. Next to that, that's going to be your clock, so you can change your clock. This one here is going to be your gear, so you can do your temp to Fahrenheit and Celsius. You have your offset, so you can plus or minus it a couple degrees as your Truma thermostat's above the door. You have your brightness, so this here is so you can change your backlight brightness of the unit. And then 24, and then you have your language, French, English, Italian, and German. And then this little guy here is indicating that you're actually plugged in, so you can use 120 on the system. And up top of this line is your indicators, indicating that you either have your furnace running, your water heater running, your fan control, and recirculation if you need it. Right now I have everything back off as everything's winterized, and we're not going to be living in it for too long, and we're inside. Next to that, they've updated the Xantrex Control system. So this is the Xanbus system control panel. All right, so this is your Xantrex controller. You can see that we are plugged in right now, so you have the AC in charge lit up. We have our inverter on light, our low battery light, and our fault light. So if the fault light comes on, you got an issue. Low battery, that's probably the issue, you got the fault light. And then your inverter on and off, so when you're unplugged, you can turn it on and off so that you know that you're not going to be using a lot of battery down the road. Now you turn that off and on by hitting this button when unplugged. Now you can see on here you have absorption. So right now the batteries are taking a charge. Right now they're charging at 14.6 at 41 to 39 amps. You have our load, which is 0 since we're not using anything. We're making 120 volts into the whole unit, charging at 0 amps since there's no load on it. Now our AC in's at 120. We're actually using 5 amps. At 60 hertz. If we push down, you can see the inverter is disabled since we're plugged in. Search mode's disabled. So what search mode does is if you're using the inverter, it will only turn on when it sees a 120 pull on it. So it will use less voltage going down the road if instead of keeping those outlets powered with 120 volts. So it won't use as much amperage as the normal Xantrex charger would. You have your charger, meaning it's enabled because we're on there. Force charge state. Desired mode is operating. And you can clear faults and warnings if you get them. You can view your device info by hitting that. You can view the fault log, which has none. Hit function to go back. Warning log, which is none. Event log, which you can see what's happened with the timestamps and everything like that. So you can see your absorption was going on at that time. So you can keep a good log of what was happening through your unit for looks like a couple hours. Now you have your basic settings. So you can have your battery type, which you don't want to mess with. So you have capacity of 600 amp hours on this unit. Charge state's fine. Charge volts is 12.4 volts. AC breakers 30 amps. Low battery cutouts at 10.5 volts. So that means that you have a consumption on this battery from, I'd say 14.1. So our nominal is actually probably going to be floating around 13.5. So you have 13.5 to 10.5 volts of actual battery usage that you can bring that battery down to until you start running out of amperage throughout the system. We'll go back. There we are at the inverter and mode. So that's going to be the top of the screen. Now all the way to the left here, we have our Wi-Fi. So this is going to be the Sky4 Wi-Fi Booster Ranger. We have our tank heats for our fresh tank and our gray tank. Our gray tank and black tank are actually outside, and our fresh tank's inside. Now that's all going to keep everything nice and warm when it's super cold out. And that's everything up top. Now, if we bring that down, you'll see on the door here, we do have a nice blind. We can bring this up and down. So keep it up to see outside. Nothing nice outside here. At the floor, we do have our fire extinguisher. And we're just going to work our way down and around. So we do have a true induction stovetop. Now you're going to want to take off this label. We leave it on here so you can keep all the information that you will need for the manuals and everything like that. You can take this off when you're ready to cook. Now you're going to need a magnetic cooktop piece. So if you just take a magnet and it sticks to the bottom of it, you're ready to set to go. Now these really work really fast. So when you're putting the butter, when you're using the stove, you're going to put it down, put the butter right away in it, so you know that it's going to cook off a little bit better than gas, as I have a gas stove at home. So up top here, you also have your Xantrex power control. So this here is going to be your Xantrex battery. So to turn off the whole system, you push and hold this button for 3 seconds. This also has a dummy light, so you can see that you have low battery. So that means you're going to want to turn on the coach, run it for a while, or plug in to help charge your battery. You can see the state of charge on this. You can see how many watts are getting put in or taken away, what your voltage is at, your temperature, and your model numbers, and your amp hour, your battery level, and your state of charge, and your amps. Now, you can set the top and the bottom as you choose. So this one here is going to change your bottom to see how many amperage. So let's set this up to where it's kind of super simple, easy. So we got that one there. And let me put this to the consumption, so you can see how many amps you're actually using. So if you're going down the road, you can see, there we go. You can see how many watts are getting put in. Actually, let's go back to the amps. Sorry. Alright, so you can see that this is putting in 23 amps to 24 amps of power into it. So right now with a plus, you'll see with it unplugged, it's going to be a minus. So you can actually use that table and subtract that from 600, and that will give you your power table consumption rate. So that means, like, if you just have the fridge on, you'll be able to see how many amps you have that are being pulled at that specific time, and then subtract that from that per hour, and that will give you your how long can this run with the fridge on and the lights on, and so on. Now these are also backlit inside the overhead compartments. That gives you a little bit more sight when you're opening it up in the dark. You do have a paper towel holder. You have your spice rack. We have our drawers, which are anti-slam closed. Let's pull them back. You have your sponge drawer. And this one's our trash can. Now under this one here is going to be our Truma combi, which is going to be our furnace and water here. That is underneath this rack here. So you can get to that way to winterize that. Now this one here is going to drip some out of this just because that's the design, since water is going to find its own level once that's done dripping. That's going to be cleaned off for you, so you're not going to have to worry about that. You have a nice deep sink, so you can keep dishes and stuff in it. This unit does also have the Max Air XL vent fan, so you have your controller here and up here. So this one here, you push and then you hit open. It's going to automatically open it up and turn the fan on. You have your plus and minus on here, so you can up the fan speed or lower the fan speed. Like such. Now this does also have a rain sensor, so if it starts to rain, it will automatically close it once it senses rain. You can also set temperatures on this as well. And when you're done using it, just push the power button and that will close it and turn off the fan. Now the windows, they changed them a little bit. So you have your little pull down window for this side here. You have your you pull this window down here, bring that, and then bring it up for your screen. Now the reason the screen's on the inside is because you're going to have to open up this window here, which you pulled this little tab. You can bring that back. Now this does have its own screen, so I'm not sure why they did that. Probably the older windows had the little pop-out windows instead of these slide windows. Then you bring this tab back over. That stops this from being opened. We have our Lagoon style table. So this here has a little ratchet, which you just turn around. Now if you're in a tight location, you can pull back on this handle, bring it around, and tighten it again. Now this isn't going to be permanently tight, even how much you tighten this. That's just going to make it a little bit more stiff. So you can have your seat and your table and all your meals and everything. And then you loosen this to bring this up. To bring it off, you bring this one here straight, and this is the scenario where you would ratchet this. Like so. Then you take this one off. You can put that on here. Like so. Now there is another bedpan sitting somewhere else, but So this here is one of the pieces to make the bed. You have your 2 bed pieces on either side. These come up and out. I'll put this underneath for right now. I believe the other piece is going to be in here. I'm wrong. Is it in the front there? So the other one's going to be right behind the driver's seat. Now that's going to be also the front table as well. So you use the front table. Put that one down there. This one here. This one here. Kind of make like a little house. Put down the roof. And then you kind of shimmy over top of it. And if we go up to here, to the... Oh wait, that's right. This one doesn't do that. This one is on a switch. Oh, yep. And that switch is right here. Let me steal the camera from you. That switch is right here. Now you're going to push it down, and then that's going to retract it. Now, when you bring that down, I do recommend that you put that screen up. Now you can see that this made a very large bed, like so. Now, this is would be comfortable for 2 people like me. That's almost 6 foot tall. I'm 5'11", and that's plenty enough space for me. And then you just push it the opposite way. I'll bring that back up. And you take these off. I'll show you about this in just a moment. And you can choose to put your table back if you like. Or if you're using the table up front, you can put this in the front table's position if you'd like. On this side here, we have our charging center. That's going to be 2 USBs and a 12-volt car port. We have the same 12-volt car port and everything on this side as well as a mini touchscreen, like up front. Does the same things, it's just a lot smaller. We also have our radio speakers. These are going to be the 2 speakers for the radio. Now that radio is going to be up top here. Now this here is the Jensen. Yep, Jensen JWM72A. So this here is kind of like a home audio studio. So this does the DVDs, radio, Bluetooth, and zones, and you can have radio. I definitely read your manuals on this one. This one's a little bit more difficult for me to explain it properly. Your off and on's right here, your pair buttons right here, and your mode buttons right there. You have zones, play, pause, stop, and back for the menu. You can have your eject here. This does have remotes for it. I just gotta find them. So we have 2 more storage compartments in the back there. Here we go. So that's just some paperwork for the stovetop. This one is the Coachmen bag. Inside the Coachmen bag here, we're going to find the remotes. This here is going to be the remote for that Jensen radio. Now, in its position, it's kind of easiest to use the buttons that are on it because you're going to have to do the old school like this. And you got to make sure you have that door open. So it's a little bit easier to open and close it and use it that way. This here is going to be the LG 12-volt TV that's located right here. You do have some extra wires. Here's a quick start menu for that radio. Now the cool thing about this unit here is you do have your original transit paperwork. So this gives you all the accessories that have been normally equipped on it. Inside is also going to be your Truma water heater combi. Now I'd read this manual back to the front so you can have a better understanding of that controls, when, where, and how to use it. And then this one here is going to be your stove top. And then pretty sure you can figure out paperwork, because you know everyone loves paperwork. Now we have this special bag here. This is your lithium ion bag. So this is going to house the tablet for the lithium. Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind. It's not going to have the tablet for the lithium because that's why we have the Mirror app for our phones. So we have our Xantrax manual for the button parts there. You don't have to worry about any of the settings in there. They're set from factory. This is the Genset's user guide for the under the hood generator. So they give you a little bit of control of that. We have our management system, which is underneath the seat here. And then we have, this is your lithium battery one. So if you kind of don't understand what I was talking about there, you can read this one. Now this does have another app that you can get for your unit. This goes off of your status code basic lithium battery control. So you can also download this to understand all the fault codes and type things that could go on. And that's on this paperwork here. So everything you'll need to know and have for your battery system is going to be in this lithium bag. Now, as far as 120 goes, we have our converter box or fuse panel box, which is in the back here. That's going to be right here. You push that down to get to it. So you're going to have your 12-volt fuse LP.
Yeah.
That's going to be your LP detector there. That's going to give us a warning for CO2 or propane into the unit. Now back up here, we have our little pull straw. All right, so our TV is actually able to come off this wall a little bit and around. You have this piece here. You just pull down on this. That releases the latch, so you can bring it around, even all the way around if you're trying to watch it up front. Now that's 12 volt, so you can have that on without being plugged into 120. Now also behind here, we have our antenna booster. Now, as long as this is green here, that's going to give you bunny ears. Now to take it off of bunny ears to use cable, just go ahead and push that. That's going to allow cable to come into this cable, into the TV. Now, normally we just leave it on bunny ears as most people are trying to dry camp. So you have your channel checker here. Turn that on. It's going to be a moment. There we go. So right now we got no signal because we're inside, but to get a good signal, oh, there we go. Yeah, it's just going to be shoddy because we're inside of a nice metal shop with metal walls everywhere. So to check for channels, we're going to hit the menu button, which is settings. It's going to give us this here. We're going to go over to channel, press OK. Go over to, you can either, if you're up top, you can bring that down to auto tuning. Click auto tuning, click yes. And then it's going to auto tune, so you let that go through its thing. That's going to pick up any channels from DirecTV, cable, or antenna, and it's going to go through everything. And DTV stands for digital TV. ATV stands for analog TV. As we went from analog to digital, that's why everyone needs those adapters to use older TVs with the new cable system. I'm going to hit close on that. So it's just going to tell you that I can't find anything right now. But once you get in your area, I'd suggest doing that auto scan. So I turn that off. Now you just bring this back around and push firmly and just push that little cable down. Now you don't want to leave that cable attached to the wall. So the consignment unit that I've recently done, they've taken and put little stickets and zip ties to hold that cable all the way back. And when you try to bring it out, it rips it off the TV. So don't do that. You have the same type of lines on this side as well. but you really don't need the screen, as this has a screen. And here's that little tab I was talking about to open up this window as well. Now you have these little lights. You gotta make sure that you have that light page on, which I'm going to check right now. So that's going to be reading. So it's going to be right here in the bottom right hand corner of the rear table. That's going to be reading lights. So that's going to be for these. So these are capacitive touch buttons. So you just touch it once to light that up. This also has a USB. And you touch it one more time to turn the light on. And then touch it a final time, turn it all the way off. And that's for both sides. We have our air conditioner here. Now all the vents for the air are on both sides. So you'll have to make sure you have them open to allow airflow out to the coach. And all the way in the back here, we have our smoke alarm. So if you hear something beeping, it's most likely this. Or your battery's starting to die, so you're going to want to check your battery voltage. Now this here I'm just going to place over here for now. I'll re-secure that back on there, so when you get it, it's going to be attached to the unit here. This here is our skipped ahead. We have a little shelf with removable shelves, so you can use it as a wardrobe. We have our high point microwave, which is just a standard microwave. To stop road noise going down the road, put this in a towel so you don't hear this going down the road. You have your fridge and freezer. These have locks on them, so you push these locks off, then slightly lift up on this handle. You have your fridge here. Now the fridge is controlled by the temperature control. Right now it's at 0. Turn that on, or turn that to 4. Allow it to cool down. Now this could, during the summer, take up to 24 hours to come to operating temperature. So be a little patient with these. The best way to use it is to cool it down 2 days prior to your trip and just be plugged in with a 30 amp adapter into the side of the house. And then you have your freezer. So you pull up slightly, and I kind of put my thumb here. So this is a little trick, go like so, and that will open every time. You have your freezer, so if you want to keep something super cold, you want to make sure you put it in here, and something decently cold, you put it down there. So me, soft serve ice cream, I'm going to make sure that's to the right, but my popsicles are going to sit inside that piece there to keep them nice and hard. Now, last and final, almost final thing, because I'm still going to go over how to do the chassis and turn those seats around to have a nice little seating area. We have our bathroom. So we have our wet bath. This is going to be, I feel, is a better bathroom than a normal bathroom because you can just wash and wipe everything down. Makes life so much easier. We have our shower curtain. So this curtain here has a knot in it just to keep it all nice and closed up. So you just bring that all the way around like such. When you're taking your shower, try to take note of where the edge is laying and try to keep that in the pan so that will reduce any water coming out. Now it's not too big of a deal if too much water comes out. Just put a towel down. That will soak up any excess water that has run off. This here will be wet to the touch, kind of like a canvas tent. So when you go to move it, try to bring it back and behind the toilet like such when you're done taking your shower. That'll make sure that all the water comes down and drains into the drain at the floor pan. And then once that's dried, you can leave that like such. Or what we do is we take it over here, kind of bring it all the way behind the toilet. Now the toilet itself is a little bit more different than a regular household. So instead of having a flush valve, we have the little kick valve, which is on the right-hand side up top here. So you're going to kind of stand this way more so. Push it down slightly to bring water out. Push it all the way down to flush. We have our holders for our soaps and stuff. But the cool thing about this model is we have the dispenser. So this dispenser, you can pre-fill and it will dispense it out. So you don't have to keep all those clutter all the way inside your unit. Now me, I'm pretty ugly, so I might break this mirror. So you have your high def and regular def here. That locks in place. This here is your shower head holder. Now you're looking here, I don't have a shower head. You actually do. That's going to be this handle here. And now you have a shower, and you just adjust it hot and cold here. Now I do suggest taking and adjusting the hot and cold here before you turn it into the shower to make it a shower. Push down on the, I believe it's the big part here. That'll change the stream to a shower head. You do have your plug here for your pan. And then another cool option is the Dometic self-rolling. So this here is your toilet paper holder. Put your paper on, leave the roll to where it comes this way, not this way. So when you go to close this, this actually spins and closes and pulls up the extra toilet paper that you had off to where it covers it so it doesn't get wet when you're taking a shower. Now, myself, I get a little claustrophobic in small places, so they thought about that. So this here is a little hinge that you open up. Then you have this little handle right here. You just take these two edges and push them together, like so. So that gives you a little bit more space for someone like me with wide shoulders. And then to close it, all you gotta do is close that, like so, and like so. Now, all the way in front here, we got this carpet. Let's move the carpet. We have this little pedestal on the floor. Now that there is for this here. This edge here is going to go down and into that slot. And then we turn it to the right until it's tight. And then the tabletop that looks like this will go on it. You can set it like that when the seats are all the way around. Which, give me a minute and we'll stage to show you that properly so we're not shaking it all over the place. Alright, so I've already opened up the doors. You're going to want to open up these doors so you don't scratch up these nice, beautiful door pockets. On the front here, you'll see a yellow handle, but you don't really need to see that yet. You're going to pull up the seat first, like so. Then you pull out the yellow handle, and then you can spin it around. And then you can pull on the handle over still on this side, bring it forward like so. That brings that one around, and now I'm going to do the same on the driver's side. Now, you're going to want to make sure that the emergency brake is down for this. So, you have to pull the emergency brake down. You're going to want to be on a flat surface when you're doing this and have it in park. So, I'm going to pull this seat forward. Pull out and spin around. Like so. So with the driver's seat, it's a little bit of a difference, and with the passenger seat as well. So it's going to be about a maximum of that. Close the door. So you have your seats turned around. Bring that arm up so it's a little bit easier to get out and in. And then you can put your tabletop right there. And then you have a nice little seating arrangement. And about, you can like kind of turn your body more so than your seat. And kind of lean if you need to for passenger and driver. Now it's going to get a little crammed in here if you have both of you trying to sit the same way. So you're going to swap knees if you do that. So I suggest sitting a little bit sideways on this, as this is a good design, but I wouldn't call it a perfect design. So expectations try not to keep them too high. Now, cool thing about this is you can notice that you do have a lot of storage space above us here. Now, this is off the standard chassis, so you're not going to keep a lot of things up here that are rolly to where they can fall off in transit, or you can make it to where you put things up here when you're camping and take them down when you're trying to go down the road. Now, also above us here, we do have a nice sized cabinet, which has a nice hinge, so you can put stuff inside that. And then all of this sits behind that driver's seat. Turn that left. So, turn that upside down. And there's a little strap here that holds everything nice and tight. Like so. And there's a little bar. So you want to make sure you have your cable in first, then put your arm in. Now this one here, I'm not certain. Oh, what's that like? So you do have to make sure you have those doors open to do it. I was just testing to see if you could do it while it's closed in a rain scenario. Seems like you might have to get a little wet if that is the case. Alright. So we'll go over the chassis after I rearrange these seats, as you've already seen me do that. Alright, so on the seat, the front knob does the seat front and back. This one here will pump you up or pump you down if you need it. All the way behind the seat here is actually your backrest. This is going to be for both seats there. Obviously, we just saw me do the pull the front bar here, like the old school front line seats, and the yellow level lever to move you around left and right. So over here, we have our mirror controls, which are right here. We have our headlights are right here. So you have your headlights, and then you have auto, which does it auto, so you don't have to worry about off and on during the day. You have your fog lights right here. Dash controls there. Your key, you push a button to bring the key out. Sometimes you might need to turn this to the right or left to unlock it. So you'll see that you have things pop up. You can push OK. You have your navigation. You have your cruise control, your volume to turn it off and down, up and down. Turn it off and on. You have your voice command, calls, and your back and up and down. So now the up and down button here is going to change your dash controls. So you can see all your settings, your trips, your views that you can set from your favorites, your driver assists, your navigation, your radio station, your device, meaning like your phone, and then back to your settings. You push OK to go through the screens, or you should. Now let's go here. Oh, okay, so that's what it is. You push the lines here to go through this stuff, so you can change your FM Sirius and stuff like that. Now you can do all this from there. It's a lot easiest just to touch it real quick. Your navigation, so you can see your northwest and stuff like that. Driver assists, which does all your blind spots, lane systems, pre-collision assist, your driver alerts, your cross-traffic alerts, cruise control, which is adaptive. Now cruise control is this button right here. So you can set it. And you can set it up and down. And you can set your limit, your miles per hour. So you can only go so low with this. This here is your distance and cancel. We have our turns on the left side. High beam flash forward, high beam flash back. You're going to have your headlights on to keep your high beams on by pulling it forward. Then you have your fog lights here. Headlights must be on to operate those as well. And then on the right hand side, we have our wipers. Push once for mist, pull back for wash, and then It's a push up for your delays and speed. And the first click, you have your, in the center here, you can adjust how your time delay in the center here for your wiper. Then you have your perk sense. You have your modes, so you can go through normal, economy, slippery, and tow haul from this location here. And then you have your traction control right here, off and on. We have our fan speed, or hot and cold. We have our off and on, so you can turn off the whole fan control and everything there. Rear defroster, your face or feet or defrost, recirculation or AC. You have your auto start here, so if you turn this off, so when you come to a stop, it's going to turn off the car itself. You push that so it stays running at a stop sign, or you can let it turn off. This here gives you your rear camera, so you can see your front camera, and then you can see your rear camera when you put it in reverse, like so. You do have your lines there, and you can hit plus to see it closer, or minus to get a farther view. You can also have a round view, so you can see left, right, and rear. I always think it's a little easiest to do it with just the rear part on. And this one here is our front camera, which is new and improved for this model. We have our volume. This here's for our settings. We'll have our next controls, play and pause. This screen also here is all touchscreen, so we can go to audio, phone, navigation, the apps that you have on the unit here for your device, so you can add device, XM travel link, find mobile apps. Then you have your settings, which is going to be all your apps type deals, so your radio, 911 assist, navigation, mobile apps, phone. You can pull the swipe to bring it over, which gives you your general, your automatic updates with Wi-Fi, 4 paths connect, ballot mode, voice control, display, and vehicle. And I'll let you guys play around with this when you get it. In the center here, there's going to be a 4-ways. You'll notice on the shifting knob to shift, put a foot on the brake, push down, and if you bring it all the way down the manual, you can bring up the gears by pushing up and down on the plus and minus on the left-hand side of the stick. You got your cup holders, USB, and a 12-volt outlet up front here. You also have a 12-volt and USB on the dash as well up here. And then you have your glove compartment, which is pretty small, but inside here we have our owner manual and our Ford chassis manual as well. Also, you have an easy fill, so this is for filling your gas tank if you need to use a jerry can. And this here is going to be your transmitter with all the manual card and everything with your serial number and everything for that. And that's for your GPS and everything like that. And your door lock and window locks are on the door here. And the driver's side is a manual down, manual up. And the passenger side is a manual up and down, where the driver's side is auto. Also at the dash by my knee here, it does have this switch. The switch here is for your house batteries. So if the chassis was already dead or stone dead, you can push that. That's going to allow it to take power from the house, switching it to the chassis to allow you to what I call dead start or jump start your coach, so you're never stranded wherever you are staying if accidentally this was left on somehow. Yeah, there's nothing down on this one down there. We have our controls for our lights. So push the center one all the way to the right. It turns on the center one. Leave it in the center. That will turn on when you open up the door. Or or turn it all the way to the left, which turns it all the way off, regardless of door open or close. And then you have your map lights. These here are also for picking up the sound when you're talking on the phone. So this is where your mic is. So when you're on the phone, try to keep it to the right a little bit so the mic can pick you up a little bit clearer so you can have a better quality of voice call. And then you obviously got cup holders and any little nook and cranny you can put things if you need to. I'm pretty sure you guys can figure that part out. And I think that covers almost everything inside this coach. Any other questions, you can feel free to call your salesman. If he can't answer them to your liking, you can also give us a call, press 4 for service, and we'll be able to help you out there. Safe travels and have a good trip.